Hold up, before you get to watching this video, let me talk to you for a second. Hit that bell down below and subscribe to the Fitz Take Podcast YouTube channel so you'll know when every episode is dropping or if something has been posted on this page. Also, be sure to follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They will be linked down in the description. Now back to the episode. Our first play is going to be the New Orleans Saints falling to their arch nemesis. I'm talking worse than Crocker and Timmy Turner, their arch rival, the Atlanta Falcons. They lose in a very, very close one. 26-24 would be the final. New Orleans spotted the Falcons 14 points. They did get a turnover in their own right, but ultimately they lose by the foot of Young Waku, and they're able to Atlanta pull out the victory. Both teams are now 2-2 on the season. Obviously, the Saints dropping, Atlanta improving to 2-2. So Elijah, I know me and you were both in and out watching this game. I know you were watching the Rams game. I was watching some of the first half of this game before that Sunday itis kicked in from the food that I had ate. But I went back and watched the highlights. But just from your perspective, what ultimately was the reason why the Saints weren't able to pull out this victory?
Turnovers, we discussed turnovers. But honestly, man, this is what NFL football is all about. Like, you never know how you're gonna get a win. You never know how you'll get a loss. And whatever one, however you get that loss is gonna piss you off. Because at the end of the day, if you're a Saints fan, you're looking at this game, you're thinking my offense was flying high the first 2 weeks. Derek Carr is under center. He's playing the best football that we've probably seen since he had that MVP caliber year with the Raiders when he was in Oakland. He's playing well the first 2 weeks. I even apologize. But then today, Sunday, you see these guys playing, they're still moving the ball, but not as efficiently. The turnovers, the interception return in Atlanta, losing to a team like Atlanta with them not scoring an offensive touchdown at all and winning on a walk-off, not only piss you off as a Saint fan, but it piss you off as a football team. Because at the end of the day, defensively, you feel like you did everything you could to keep them out the end zone, but you did, and you still find a way to lose the game. Now, this is not a time, if I'm in the Saints in the locker room, not to point fingers. We're still very young in the season. Still got time to go. But at the same time, this should be a wake-up call and saying, look, we got to play better complementary football, and we need to get down the field and put some points back on the board. Initially, I said I was calling for Derek Carr's job by week 5. He got off that hook for me because of the way how he played for the first 2 weeks. Now, the last 2 weeks, he hasn't been playing too well. But at the end of the day, I still give him a chance of saying, hey, he could be the guy going on and going forward with this football team. Now, if he continues to play like mess, then I think that, maybe they should turn their head and try to, give that young guy a chance of Spencer. But at the same time, I don't blame this all on Derek. I blame this on the lack of execution, because I think the coaching was actually there, and that's me giving flowers to Dennis Allen, which I never do. But I think the coaching was actually there, and I think that, it just didn't fall in your favor today. So it just sucks that you fall to the Saints like this, man. Your arch nemesis, and you fall to a team that didn't even put the ball past the pylons.
Yeah. I think that obviously the overarching theme is going to be, obviously the muff punt by Rashid Shaheed, and then also the pick six that the Saints have, which I don't believe that's Derek Carr's fault. I mean, you're trying to hit a screen, you're trying to either double clutch it and throw around him, or throw it in the ground. It gets batted in the air, and you know how I always say tips and overthrows, we got to have those. Like, those are the things that defenses are looking for. If the ball gets popped in the air, that's like taking candy from a baby. And so those are, plays that are hard to overcome. But ultimately, I think why the Saints dropped this game was because Taysom Hill got hurt. He scored both of their touchdowns that they had there in the first half. He is a very intricate part of their offense. If you noticed last week, when they played the Philadelphia Eagles and he didn't play, they struggled to have some form of an identity. Taysom Hill is the Swiss Army knife part of their offense that sets them apart from everyone else. Because when you put him out there, you can put him in so many different positions. It makes it harder for defenses to game plan for, because one play he's lined up at tight end. The next play he can line up at quarterback. The next play he can line up at fullback. The next play he can line up at running back. You can put him in the pistol. You can line him up in behind Derek Carr. They can motion Carr out, and then he can direct. Like there's so many avenues that makes your offense so much more dynamic. And schematically, it vanillas your offense down a little bit because now, okay, we want to hand the ball off. We got to turn around and give it to Kamara. There's only so many ways you can scheme giving him the ball. Run inside zone, outside zone. He's not really a between the tackles guy all the time. He can do it, but he's more of somebody that you get him out to the edge, you let him get in space and work your magic. Jamal Williams, can spare him a few reps here and there, but he's not ultimately a part of your game plan to be getting more than maybe 10 touches a game. So with Taysom Hill out of the lineup, that I feel like was the biggest reason of why, or one of the other bigger reasons why they lost this football game. He left the game, I believe it was in the second quarter, and the game really was, well, if it wasn't the second quarter, it was early third. One of the two, I think it was a play that he got hurt on where they, collapsed on the pile on him. He had I think a bruised lung the week before, and now it's his ribs on the other side. And then you look at the fact that they had a lot of guys that were banged up. They were out two offensive linemen, Eric McCoy, out for the foreseeable future. Cesar Ruiz also did not play. Alvin Kamara had broken ribs and still played. Like, this is the part of the season. It's still early, but this is the part of the season where somebody has a high ankle sprain, somebody has a broken hand, somebody has this going on with their arm, somebody has this going on with their back. Like, everybody is dealing with something right now. This is a 100% chance of injury game because you are getting into a car accident every single play for 50 to 60 plays throughout an entire game. So you're bound to get hurt. Like, take it from someone that played it. I did not play it at the highest of levels, but as long as you're playing football, at some point you're gonna get hurt. And so they're dealing with a lot of injuries, but that's no excuse because in the NFL, the expectation is to go out and win football games on Sundays. That's why they pay you the big bucks. And so now what New Orleans is going to have to figure out how to do is how do they find identity when Taysom Hill is not on the field. Ultimately, I think they can do that because you still have Rashid Shaheed, who's dynamic. You still have Chris Olave, who's a great receiver. You still have Jawan Johnson, that's a phenomenal tight end that sometimes I kind of feel like he gets lost in the shuffle because of Taysom Hill being there and being able to be that Swiss Army knife. You still have weapons there. As much as Taysom is a big part of your offense, you're going to have to find your identity, have to find that next man up mentality to figure out who else can step in for you that can be able to make a difference. Defensively, like you said, they did everything they possibly could do to make sure that Atlanta did not win this game. I mean, you take away the pick six, and that's what, seven less, that's 19. So now you win by 5. You take away Rashid Shaheed's muff punt, which that shouldn't have happened. He's good about, knowing when to not take it or just let it go in the end zone, which is what he should have done and let it be a touchback. You take that away. Now they only score 12 points. Now you beat the team 24-12. And who knows, it could be even more because you spotted them 2 possessions. You could have went scored on the pick 6 drive, and you could have scored on the one where Shaheed muffs the punt. So, it could have potentially been 38-12. Now you're talking about a blowout. You know, those few plays do make the difference, but I think ultimately, Taysom Hill was something that really hurt the Saints in the long run. Not be him being in the lineup and them trying to figure out what it is. So, with that in mind, Elijah, if Taysom Hill continues to be in and out of the lineup, who do you see being the main culprit? That's kind of another, not Swiss Army knife, but another wild card for the Saints offense that can help them continue to be explosive the way that they were those first 2 weeks of the season.
He's already out there, Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, the guy he's already out there. No, he's not going to be playing the tight end position and doing that, but he can assist and help block. When say if Derek Carr looking for that extra block if a pass rush is through. The ball need to be in Alvin Kamara's hands. Most of the game. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that they're not trying to do it because it's obvious that they are. But that's the guy to me that make this offense go because once he goes, you can play action, hit Chris Olave over the top. You can quick throw when they got like a 8-man in the box. You can quick throw and hit Shaheed, and he can go. Or you can hit Shaheed over the top. It doesn't really matter. Like Alvin Kamara is that guy that makes is the engine that makes his offense go. And I think that, if he continues to stay healthy, which I hope he does, the Saints, like I said, it's not the panic button for the Saints because you still got him on the field. And I think that's the guy that's the most dynamic when we talk about the Saints offense.
Absolutely. I would have to say that, as important as Kamara is, that's someone that you can game plan to take him out of the game. I mean, the Eagles stifled him pretty well last week. I think Jawan Johnson is going to be a big part of what can help the Saints have that X factor. When you look at what a quarterback needs to be successful, he needs a great defense. He needs a great run game. Derek Carr has those two components, but he also needs a security blanket and a tight end. Taysom Hill is kind of that pretty much for Derek Carr. But now, if it's him in and out of the lineup, I feel like it has to be Jawan Johnson. And we saw Jawan Johnson be very much that even when the Saints were playing bad, when it was Andy Dalton in the mix, when it was Trevor Siemian, he was still able to make noise offensively for that offense. So I think that the Saints have to get him more targets. I think he only had 2 catches in this contest against Atlanta. He needs to get more touches if Taysom is not in the lineup. I think ultimately that will, open things up a little bit differently, whether that's hitting him on drag routes across the field, hitting him on, a few corner routes, whatever you need to do to get him out in space. He's capable of taking care of the entire route tree and getting out there and opening things up and, making it to where the defense has to take their eyes off of Kamara. They almost seemingly not forget about him, but say, okay, we got to pay attention to Alvin, but now we got to pay attention to this tight end out here. That's what makes teams like, the 49ers effective, because teams are like, yeah, when Christian McCaffrey was healthy, you had him in the backfield, but you got to watch for George Kittle on the pop route. You got to watch for him on the flat route. You got to watch for him running the out. You got to watch him running the stick route. Same thing with Kansas City with Travis Kelce. I think Jawan Johnson could not necessarily be on that same tier of tight end level, but he could be something that's within those same regards to give Derek Carr a form of a security blanket. So the Saints fall there to the Atlanta Falcons by 2 points. Next up for them, in my opinion, will probably be their toughest test of the season outside of the Eagles. They will face off with the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs on the Monday Night Lights next Monday, as they will face Kansas City on ESPN. That is going to be your measuring stick. That's going to be your game to see where you really are. So the Saints will face the Chiefs next week on Monday night. After that, they have the Bucs, Broncos, and Chargers, and then the Panthers again. So right now you're at the first quarter of the season, because you've played your first 4 games and you're 2-2. Now your next quarter of the season is Chiefs, Bucs, Broncos, and Chargers. I think if you come out of that mix 3-1, you're golden. I think that 1 can only be against the Chiefs. Everybody else, you gotta go in. Even though the Bucs are playing some really good football, they went in and I think they just mollywopped the Eagles not too long ago. Baker Mayfield is playing very, very good football over there. But I feel like that's a game that you have to have because it's a divisional game. And then, the Chargers are playing fairly decent as well. So I feel like those are the games that you're going to have to get here in the second quarter of the season. So we'll see how the Saints will be able to manage after suffering their second loss of this very young. Thank you so much for watching this clip of the Fitz Take podcast. Be sure to like this video and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They will be linked down in the description. And remember, every episode of the Fitz Take podcast will air right here on the YouTube channel every Monday at 2 p.m. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.